New patch just came out of the PTR. A new organization called the Red Dawn in the Arathi Highlands, formed from the former Scarlets, the Defias, and the Syndicate, are working on reclaiming the old Arathi Empire and restoring human rule to this ancient land. At the same time, we've learned that the Light Empire and the Emperor is not tolerant at all, super light devoted, insanely powerful, very likely they're sending expeditions to other planets, and once they come, and they will, I don't think they will like the fact that the undead, Vorgen, and orcs are ruling over most of their former homeland. So what is this new information and what is everything we know? If you wanted anything Warcraft related, Gamido has the best deals on the market that you can get with my link below. You can get almost every other game's software, and they also just added mobile top-ups for all your favorite mobile games with the craziest prices. You can also use my code DORON to get yet another discount, so click my link and get the best deals at Gamido. So by now you must have seen the storyline of the patch 11.1.7 because it's literally called the Legacy of Arathor, and as you would imagine it is mainly about Stormguards, a minor horde and alliance tension, but mainly it is about this new organization called the Red Dawn, which I feel like is a huge setup for Midnight, but everyone is mainly talking about the storyline that is present, which is not really that big of a deal. If you've seen the Heartland novella that came out around the release of the War Within, it added some storyline about tensions happening in the Arathi Highlands, which is something I've really been talking about for years now, since the Shadowlands, if you follow my channel, that the Arathi Highlands are said to be very important and that we will likely get revamped Stormguard, as well as a big update to the entire zone, as all of this will be super relevant. There's a pretty big questline combined with this, and personally, I do think it is a little bit cheesy and really not that interesting. Most people are expecting that this will be like a big spark for the Horde and the Alliance conflict, because Blizzard did hint at it happening, but instead I'll sum it up like super quick. There's like a faction of the Arathi that don't like the Horde presence in their home, and they don't like Dana Trollbane leading, so they start wreaking havoc, they're infiltrating, stealing weapons, doing all sorts of stuff to get rid of Danet and get rid of the Horde. Ultimately, they all get defeated. We learn that there is no room for hate, which honestly I feel like is super cheesy. I mean, let's be real, the Arathi are definitely justified to not want the Horde there, as literally a few decades ago they stole their land and attempted to eliminate them in entirety. However, that is besides the point. I really want to talk about how this place is riddled with hints about the new Arathi Empire, the big one, the one that we'll get to discover, and the fact that these guys are definitely going to be coming here soon. If you watched my previous videos, I talked about how the new Arathi are very similar to the Scarlet Crusade, but actually powerful, and how if they came to our lands, they will have the perfect allies to conquer their old territory. Back in the day, a few thousand years ago, there existed the Arathi Empire, which was very powerful. From this empire, pretty much all the humans originated, all the various kingdoms across the Eastern Kingdoms. However, before this known split happened, a portion of the humans and the elves of Xal'atath decided to embark on a journey across the sea, and they formed a colony. The thing is, we don't really know what happened and whether this really was a colony, because these guys just consider themselves the Arathi Empire. They don't really think they're an offshoot of it, like Stormwind is, for example. No, their Emperor Thoradin the Ninth sees himself as the true Emperor of the real and never destroyed Arathi Empire. All of this is old lore, but if you missed it, we got some crazy hints very recently. First of all, we learned that they're super powerful, rich, they don't like the races we keep company of, they seem very fanatical, light devoted, they're also super technologically advanced, they understand cosmology. Keep in mind, like, this is a super intricate and powerful settlement that we can see in Hellfall, and it is literally just an expedition that was half destroyed, so you can imagine the mainland is absolutely crazy. In the new patch, we've learned that apparently they sent their entire army to some giant battle against outside threats, potentially out of this world, and it is entirely possible that they're essentially like the Light Army, just based on Azeroth. So the point is, these guys are very devoted to the light and understand it much more than we currently do. They seem fanatical, they seem very powerful. Now, some like Firin, for example, don't seem to like the Empire that much. She feels like they threw her into a war from a young age, as you can obviously tell from her appearance, and she seems to lean more towards our alliance and horde and the way we live. However, I don't think the Empire is really that tolerant, and personally I think they plan to come back for their homeland, which is pretty much everything from the Arathi Highlands to Xal'atath, and this is all obviously super relevant, hinted in the recent stuff. First of all, in the Season of Discovery we got a crazy, kinda out of nowhere, unexpected update to the Ashbringer and its origin, potentially related to the Emperor. We got a brand new instance of New Avalon, which we had later seen in Rat. However, we've learned that this New Avalon is actually an ancient holy site for the light from the old Arathi Empire, and also the port is literally called New Avalon, while these Arathi humans are likely based on Avaloran. So Avaloran. So it is entirely possible that the Scarlets somehow are related, or they have communicated with these guys. Furthermore, at the end of Dragonflight, Scarlets got kinda out of nowhere insane powers where they were able to transform into light monstrosities, proclaiming that the light will purge our stain from this world. However, let me now get into the new patch, which is 11.1.7. So I've explained the storyline so far. Essentially, a faction of the Arathi want to go back to the old days. They want to reclaim the old human empire in all of its glory. They're calling themselves the Red Dawn. This is a new organization filled with former members of the Syndicate, the Defiance Brotherhood, and of course, none other than the Scarlet Crusade. Their goal is to cleanse the Horde from their lands, to restore human superiority, and to restore the fabled Arathi Empire. All of this, and the fact that this organization was just formed, seems like they're setting the ground for the Emperor, and it really does feel like there is going to be a split with these new Arathi within themselves, where some might not want to participate, and these guys will be led by Farron. Farron here, despite being one of these new fanatical Arathi, seemed to side with us. She doesn't like the Red Dawn. She's still fascinated seeing their original homeland, the famous Thoradin's Vol. However, the real dialogue here comes when she talks with Dana Trollbane at the end. She talks about how she was a little bit naive, believing that the Empire was much more glorious, and then it says that she is the future of the Arathi. Then she says, and keep in mind, Meryn is the leader of this Red Dawn, she says perhaps a new dawn is not what Meryn wanted, but us returning here for our people. Then Trollbane then says, I hope you're right. So right off the bat, I mean, this is obviously confirmation that the Arathi plan to come back to their original homeland at some point in time, and I feel like this point is going to be very soon, as the upper eastern kingdoms are going to be super relevant, and we know that the light is going to come here to battle the void in the big new invasion, so all of this is probably midnight content. As we've learned from Farron, the new Arathi are obviously very familiar with their homeland. They know all about Thoradin's Wall, holy sites and the like, and you would imagine when the Emperor himself comes and finds out that the part of the land is controlled by orcs, the other by undead, the other by Vorgin he had never seen before, he might become very pissed. Now, as I said, we've learned that these guys are super powerful, very likely going to different planets, so no, these guys are not your Scarlet Crusade 2.0. I somehow feel like this Red Dawn might know all about this, and the Scarlets know all about it as well, and they just want to set the ground until the Emperor comes. Personally, the way things are being set up make it seem like the Arathi Empire will splinter, and some will want to join the Alliance and the Horde, while the others might want to restore the human and elven supremacy to these lands, to reform the original Empire, and this could create a whole lot of new interesting storylines. Of course, at this point in time, it is still too early to really know anything for certain. It is definitely possible that the Emperor could turn out to be a good guy, but I don't know, somehow based on what we've learned, how devoted to light these guys are and everything, I don't feel like that is going to be the case. The only thing I can see happening is maybe the Emperor siding with us, because we will be battling the Void, so that might turn away his gaze from reclaiming the former lands. However, despite this being a minor storyline in 11.1.7, it is 100% a setup for Midnight and upcoming content. Thanks for watching. Check out the new Xal'atath form that was actually revealed in the new cinematic in the patch by clicking on the screen, and check out my history channel for more videos, also clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.